Thanks for tuning in as we go through the book of Job. The first two chapters of the book tell us a great deal about how Job has come to suffer because Satan was allowed to attack him. And for 7 days and 7 nights, he sat in a pile of ashes. Apparently, he had some kind of a boil that he would scrape with a broken piece of pottery, and his three friends came and sat with him, and no one spoke. But then in Job chapter 3, it says, "And after this, Job opened his mouth and cursed the day of his birth. And Job said, 'Let the day perish on which I was born, and the night that said, a man is conceived, let that day be darkness. May God above not seek it, nor light shine upon it. Let gloom and deep darkness claim it. Let clouds dwell upon it. Let the blackness of the day terrify it. That night let thick darkness seize it. Let it not rejoice among the days of the year. Let it not come into the number of the months. Behold, let that night be barren. Let no joyful cry enter it. Let those who curse it, who curse the day, who are ready to rouse up Leviathan." Now, Leviathan is a creature that we don't know a whole lot about, but we're going to see again in chapter 41 when God talks about it. It seems like it's going to be described as some kind of a dragon. But you can see that Job, though the scripture said Job did not sin with his lips, his heart was full of bitterness that he had lost everything. And for what? Even God testified that Job was a righteous man, blameless in all of his actions. And so he cries out and he says, "Let the stars of its dawn be dark. Let it hope for light, but have none, nor see the eyelids of the morning, because it did not shut the doors of my mother's womb, nor hide trouble from my eyes. Why did I not die at birth, come out from the womb and expire? Why did the knees receive me, or why the breast that I should nurse? For then I would have lain down and been quiet. I would have slept, then I would have been at rest with the kings and counselors of the earth who rebuilt ruins for themselves, or with princes who had gold, who filled their houses with silver. Or why was I not a hidden stillborn child, as infants who never see the light? There the wicked cease from troubling, and there the weary are at rest." And so he cries out, and I can have great empathy for him at this moment. But I think we begin to see that God's purposes are going to come through because he has a lot of questions for God. And he and his friends are going to spend close to 40 chapters trying to figure it all out. And I think it's okay for us to ask questions, but let's make sure we're asking questions and not doubting the goodness or the sovereignty of God in his working, that he has made promises to us that he will fulfill. He's saying, listen, I don't have rest. How can you be at rest when your circumstances are negative and everything seems to be falling apart? And your trust in God is wavering. You see, there's the key point. When our circumstances seem bleak, when our life is full of trouble, when life seems to be falling apart, we who know him and are in him can still be at rest, can still be at peace. We can have the shalom of God because we know we're in his sovereign hands, and we can lose our money and our job or even our health and still be at rest, knowing that he's been good to us and will be good to us and will keep all of his promises to us. He says, he continues on, he says, there are prisoners at ease together. They hear not the voice of the taskmaster. The small and the great are there, and the slave is free from his master. Why is light given to him who is in misery, and the life to the bitter in soul? You see, he's lost all hope. He's lost everything physically and numerically, financially, I guess, but he's lost hope for life. And he said, why is this happening? He says, who long for death, but it comes not, and dig for it more than for hidden treasures, who rejoice exceedingly and are glad when they find the grave. He says, why is a light given to a man whose way is hidden, whom God has hedged in? For my sign comes instead of my bread, and groanings are poured out like water. For the thing that I fear comes upon me, and what I dread befalls me. I am not at ease, nor am I quiet. I have no rest, but trouble comes. So he pours out his heart after mourning and being with his friends, looking in great despair. He says, it would have been better for me to have never been born, never to have lived. And he asked several questions. I think it would be interesting to go through and count how many times he asked God questions, or even of his friends. But I'm going to stop there and want you to think about it. At your worst, when life has fallen apart, can you trust God that he's bringing everything together for your good? You lose your job, or you have financial loss, or one of the many things that can happen in life. You've lost your health. Can you trust God that he loves you and is good, that he promises that he will use all things together for our good, that a sovereign God even allowed Satan to attack the Apostle Paul? Paul tells us, he said, listen, it was a messenger of Satan, a thorn in my flesh. It was getting in my way, but it was all about keeping me from becoming arrogant or conceited. He goes, I asked God to take it away 3 times, and he goes, my grace is sufficient for you. So no matter what you and I are facing, we know this: his grace is sufficient for us. It abounds in us. It's the fullness of his life in us. And that at some point, God will bring it together for good. He did for Paul. And Paul said, listen, I'm going to boast now. He goes, when I'm weak, then I'm strong, because I have his strength. Poor Job didn't have that same kind of insight or revelation as a member of the old covenant, but he loved God, and God's going to restore him. And he puts up with a lot of our complaints, doesn't he? Now, we'll close there, and then next time we'll go in and see how the first friend responds to Job. Have a great day.